Polygamy in Islam. Let's talk about it. Firstly, Islam did not introduce polygamy. Polygamy was commonly practiced by people before, even the Jews and Christian leaders, and sometimes they have up to hundreds of wives. So Islam limited it to 4 to honor the women. It says in the Quran, chapter 4, Surah An-Nisa, verse number 3, you can marry up to 4 wives, but if you cannot be just, then marry only 1. So there's a condition to it. You have to be fair to all wives. You have to fulfill the rights of all of your wives equally. And please stop comparing yourself to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. It's embarrassing. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ never married for his own desires. He usually married divorcees, widows, and women in need. And he does this to help the women or spread Islam among the different tribes. And please don't forget, he married Sayyidina Khadija, his first wife. For 25 years, he had nobody else but her. And Khadija was 15 years older than him, and she also has been married before. And it's really funny that nobody really talks about this hadith, which I will mention and give you the source. It's in Sahih Bukhari 4932 and Sahih Muslim 2449. And this is a hadith where Sayyidina Ali, which is the husband of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ's daughter, Fatima, he wanted to marry another wife. So he told this to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. And this is what Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said. Not my words, this is his words. So he said it 3 times. I do not give permission. Again, I do not give permission. And again, I do not give permission unless Ali bin Abi Talib intends to divorce my daughter and marry their daughters, which means other wives. Verily, she, Fatima, is only a part of me. I am upset by what upsets her, and I am harmed by what harms her. So what does this say? Polygamy could also be harmful to women. And Prophet Muhammad ﷺ didn't even allow his son-in-law to marry another wife. I understand that men like to say that this is my right, but your wives also has rights upon you. So stop using this right for you to justify your incapability of controlling your own desires and thinking that this is okay to do while hurting your other wife. So the conclusion is, does polygamy have its benefits? Yes. Does polygamy have its harms? Yes. Do women have to accept polygamy? No. Do women have rights to not want to be in a polygamous marriage? Yes. And lastly, do men like to misuse these rights for their own selfish reasons? Yes. That nobody really talks about this hadith, which I will mention and give you the source. It's in Sahih Bukhari 4932 and Sahih Muslim 2449. And this is a hadith where Sayyidina Ali, which is the husband of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ's daughter, Fatima, he wanted to marry another wife. So he told this to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. And this is what Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said. Not my words, this is his words.
So this sister is getting a lot of prominence for her videos. And there are quite a lot of sisters who do this type of work where they quote their opinions. Sometimes they use evidence of different ulama. We have to try to correct the misconceptions, inshallah. Hopefully that she will, that they'll return and they'll submit to the correct evidence. The accusations or the statements are that he did not marry for desire, which is totally wrong, because at the core of marriage is desire. Now, the Prophet ﷺ would have married these women and just have tea with them, pray with them, tahajjud, maybe recite Quran and fast in Ramadan. So here it's very important to understand that the wife that he wanted to marry was none other than the daughter of Abu Jahl. So we know that this was narrated by Mishwar ibn al-Makhrama. Ali bin Abi Talib proposed marriage to the daughter of Abu Jahl when he was already married to Fatima, daughter of the Prophet ﷺ. When Fatima heard about that, she went to the Prophet ﷺ and said to him, your people are saying that you do not get jealous for the sake of your daughters, and Ali is going to marry the daughter of Abu Jahl. She didn't say Ali is going to marry a second wife. She didn't say Ali is going to hurt me, and so on. Specifically, she mentioned she is going to marry the daughter of Abu Jahl. All right, we understand. Let's continue. And this is why I said that it's the Christian version or Christianized American liberal LGBTQ++ liberal feminist version of Islam, because that's how they do it. When they attack Islam, they take things out of context. They misquote things. All right, but let's hear. I'm not saying it's not easy for women to marry religion. It's not easy for women to accept another, that we don't dismiss that they should just jump up and down and have a party that they were getting married. No, that's not for sure. It's very difficult, 100%. And so men should have that understanding and that, that empathy that is quite difficult, right? And that we will never understand that. Imagine if you were to reverse the roles, right? It's difficult, 100%. But that does not invalidate, okay, the ability of a man, the halal of a man to get married. But let's continue. And the hadith is by Burayda ibn Husayb. They were not happy. Some say because Ali took one of the slave women that some other people like. Allah alim, I couldn't find all the full context, but the hadith is there. It has the context of what we are meant to understand here. So he reported the Prophet ﷺ that, and he went to Khalid to bring the khums, the 1/5 of the war spoils. But then he had some dislike for Ali. And he observed, pay attention here, that Ali had taken a bath after a sexual act with a slave girl from the khums, from the spoils of war. And Burayda expressed his disapproval to Khalid. Now, I don't know why. Maybe he thinks that, hey, maybe Burayda thought, that, hey, you're married to Fatima. All these things, the Prophet doesn't like it, that you be with another woman. Now, we understand that a servant woman or a slave woman or a bondswoman at the time was halal for men, just like polygyny is halal. And it's also part of polygyny because his sister did not complete the verse in Surah Nisa. What is the verse in Surah Nisa? Okay, Surah Nisa, verse of polygyny. But then, فَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ أَلَّا تَعْدِلُوا فَوَاحِدَةً أَوْ مَا مَلَكَتْ أَيْمَانُكُمْ. So the women start, they stop, where do they stop? Fawahida, 1. But the verse says, oh, so it still shows the nature of polygyny. Now, I'm sure that if slavery was around today, I wouldn't be like, but it's not. Most men would be like, okay, fine, we cannot be just. See, the lack of justice does not invalidate a man's nature for variety. It's not just about marriage. This argument is not just about marriage. It's about the man's need for variety. The man's need that can lead him to even down the rabbit hole for variety if he doesn't take the halal. When a person is restricted from halal, well, guess what? Why do you think Allah SWT has given halal? Because a person might go for haram. So, complete the verse, complete the hadith, sister, and let's complete then the hadith of Burayda. So, oh, Burayda hate Ali? He said, yes. The Prophet saying that. The Prophet said, he said, do not hate him for he deserves more than that from the khums. More than what? What did he do? He slept with a servant woman. Polygyny, variety. Halal. It's halal for him. Even if you say right now it's not halal, still you cannot say that it was immoral at that time because the Prophet agreed to it and accepted it. There's no nasikh and mansukh here. There's no abrogation. Okay, no one ever said that this was abrogated or this hadith abrogates. I don't know. The Prophet basically said, hey, deserves even more than that. Okay, and what he was told that he slept with another woman, which is halal for him, of course. So the issue is not that Ali would sleep with other women. And by the way, hadith is in Bukhari 4350. It's not that he slept with other women because that's what would hurt Fatima. It's who he was going to marry, which is the daughter of Abu Jahl. I really advise my sisters and the brothers who fall into this mentality to be careful. Do not lie for the Prophet, even though it fits the American Western paradigm, even though it fits that culture, even though it fits and it satisfies that, oh, the Muslims are not so bad. Don't lie. If you don't like it, just say, hey, I just abstain. Don't try to justify your position because you're going to get in trouble and you're going to end up lying for the Prophet, which is a big sin.
This is a video to respond to the attacks, hate, and accusations that I'm getting from people, especially from this brother who has an influence on social media and posting my video on his Instagram and also YouTube. So this is why I'm addressing it, because it has gone a little wild. Sometimes I feel like people don't really listen to understand and they just listen to respond back. Perhaps there are some lack in the way that I have addressed the hadith that I mentioned. And that is my own shortcomings and my lack of knowledge, which inshallah that I'll keep improving and learning. But it's not rocket science, It doesn't take out the fact that Prophet Muhammad has mentioned that this could harm or hurt Fatima, which means a woman's well-being has to be taken into consideration when it comes to this practice of polygamy. This isn't really about the practice of polygamy itself. It's about the men who misuse it, and that's simply it. At the end of the day, Prophet Muhammad has been one person who has always emphasized women's rights and taking care of the well-being of women. This is why it's really sad to see how Muslim men just dismiss this rights that wives has upon them when it comes to polygamy. And that's really my point. And you'll never find me saying that, polygamy in general is a bad practice. This has been done by our Prophet Muhammad. It works for some, it helps some, it benefits some as well if it's done right. This is a video to respond to the attacks, hate, and accusations that I'm getting from people, especially from this brother who has an influence on social media and posting my video on his Instagram and also YouTube. So this is why I'm addressing it, because it has gone a little wild. Sometimes I feel like people don't really listen to understand. And
okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So I usually don't respond to this, but there's a very important point here to make to her and to other sisters like her who preach and talk online and they distort things to, again, because of their emotions. And my main point, one of my main points in my video was that emotions are not a valid reason, sabab, for Sharia and for things to be done. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refused them many times in the Quran, such as that, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in His Messenger reveals something, gives something, there's no point or leeway for a person to have a decision or a feeling or something like that. It's not. Okay, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decides something, then we accept. Okay, it's not easy, it's not difficult, but sami'ana wa ta'ala. Yes, there's certain conditions, there's certain things which we'll discuss. But again, there's no accusations. You can't, if you're online, you have to understand that you will get criticism. You cannot base your emotions and everything on emotions. You can't, you need to take this criticism. It's just the way it is. If you preach and you do things and you do a mistake and people criticize you, there's no attack, there's no accusation, there's no nothing other than facts. Let's continue.
They just listen to respond back. Perhaps there are some lack in the way that I have addressed the hadith that I mentioned. And that is my own shortcomings and my lack of knowledge, which inshallah that I'll keep improving and learning. But it's not rocket science, it does.
Well, it's not about rocket science or not. I appreciate that you say that, okay, you've misquoted or misread, and then this is your lack of knowledge. Again, a lot of sisters get online thinking that they have the ability to preach, but they do damage, a lot of damage. And in doing so, then you say, well, I'm sorry, like, instead of taking full accountability and changing that, yeah, maybe I'll have to seek some knowledge and maybe I was wrong. And that's my lack of that. You've already done the damage. You have a big platform. A lot of women follow you. So you shouldn't be there. And a lot of women actually shouldn't be online. MashaAllah, there's some sisters online who have real knowledge, covered properly, and they preach. They follow the examples of Aisha radiallahu and others, the women of the Prophet who were scholars and taught even men behind the veil, fully covered. We don't need to get into that right now. But they spoke and taught Qala Allah, Qala Rasul, not their own emotions. Okay, that's what it was. But I appreciate that at least you're recognizing the fact that, okay, lack of knowledge and maybe you didn't read things. But again, you can see it's not a clear, retraction. Let's continue.
Take out the fact that Prophet Muhammad has mentioned that this could harm or hurt Fatima, which means a woman's well-being has to be taken into consideration when it comes to this practice of polygamy. This isn't really about the practice of polygamy itself. It's about the men who misuse it.
Right, so if you listen to the video clearly, again, you are using something abstract, such as your emotions and emotions of other women, to justify something. And if you look at the trends in the world right now, well, yeah, that's what's happening. Everyone is kind of justifying a woman's emotion. For example, I don't feel good wearing hijab. It causes me, have low self-esteem. Yeah, but does that mean now because you feel like, oh, it's mental health, it's affecting me, therefore I have to wear jeans, therefore I have to put a lot of makeup on, therefore I have to show my face to get some validation, therefore, because my emotions, I don't feel healthy. It's not, you cannot, it's not a source of Sharia. That's what I'm trying to say. Again, I'm going to reiterate and repeat it. I'm going to put the hadith again in the description. You're using the wrong hadith. Yes, Fatima was upset. And the Prophet was upset because she's upset and she's hurt and it hurts him. Why was she hurt? Again, look at the hadith. It's because Abu Jahl's daughter. It's not because of the polygyny. Nor the Prophet is he upset because of polygyny. Why? Because I've also substantiated the other hadith of Buraidah radiallahu anh, where the Prophet accepted the fact that Ali radiallahu anh slept with another woman who's halal for him. Okay? Was halal. Again, I say halal. Right, no right, meaning rights as in hukuk. This is something different. All men have the rights. Yeah, he had the right and he had the halal. Is halal. And the Prophet said that he deserves more than that part of the khums, of the war spoils. Okay, it's a time where Fatima is alive, the Prophet is alive. He did not object to that. Right? So your actual evidence, and again, you're insisting on it, it doesn't stand. Now, does that mean that women don't get upset when a man marries? Yes, they do. Or do they get hurt? Yes, they do. Does that invalidate polygyny? No, it doesn't. Your point is wrong and you have to correct it or retract it. Because women will now say, imagine it's something abstract. Feelings and the hurt of a woman, emotions, is abstract. You cannot measure it. Women can now use it to manipulate it and to change the Sharia. Oh, I'm so upset. I don't have a house. Can you please get a loan from the bank in riba? Because I'm really feeling, my heart is breaking, my children. So men go and take riba loans. Oh, I feel have low self-esteem. I just need to put a little bit of makeup and just take my hijab or just loosen a little bit because it gives me more self-esteem, but I'm a good Muslim. And slowly, people allow that to happen. If it goes back, this is not a source of Sharia. So sisters, study Islam, study Mustalah Hadith. You can go maybe to Islam Online University. I'm trying to give you solutions. And look at some of the sisters like Sister Corner and other sisters who are preaching properly, covered properly. I'm not trying to judge you here. You're covered, mashallah. But what I'm saying is like they do things according to correct ways. But you're using the wrong evidence again, but you're still insisting on it. It's abstract. You judge, and you mentioned it. I'm not trying to say that everything was wrong. I've explained. A man's ability to provide, a man's ability, certain abilities that are measurable. That's what validates or invalidates polygyny, not a woman's feelings, not something abstract. Do you understand? It has to be something that is measurable. In Sharia, we go based on those things. All right? Because now women's feelings invalidate many things. Bottom line is, yes, the Prophet did protect women and did advocate and take care of them and to take care of them to be right. And I do that. But some of these women today, they mess about. And the modern day Muslim woman who's a liberal, who is trying to be like a man, who is acting like a man, is definitely not in line with what the Sharia says.
And that's simply it. At the end of the day, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ has been one person who has always emphasized women's rights and taking care.
100% he's not always emphasized. He's also told us to be careful, to be afraid of women and to take care of them and to protect them and to control them, because if not, they will go astray. There are many hadith about the fitna of women. So it's not always about, women's rights to do what? To do the right thing. Okay, men, the Prophet emphasized women's rights to do the right thing, not the wrong thing, even if it's guised under Islam or hijab or, traveling for the sake of Allah. All right. So look, bottom line is, okay, polygyny cannot be taken from the DNA of a man. Impossible. Why? Because he has a need, not just for marriage, but the need for variety. Now, if more imams and more people and more sisters and more brothers would focus on doing it the right way and teaching men how to do it the right way, maybe we could fix this problem. Bottom line is, we're never going to be able to take it from the DNA of a man. That's how Allah created it. Just like Allah created you women to be emotional, Allah created men to be polygynous, to have the need for variety. It's not going to change. And men, what they're doing now, it's funny because we're judging everything based on like the Western ideologies and the West is doing polygyny, but unlawful polygyny. They're practicing unlawful polygyny. Okay, they're all into that. It's just that they don't allow marriage. All right. Now, Muslim men are practicing unlawful polygyny. Before, they're practicing wrong polygyny, but it was still halal, making mistakes, this and that. They need to be taught. 100%. I agree. Some men are not qualified. They shouldn't do it because they're not qualified, not because of the woman's emotions. Women are still going to get hurt no matter what when it comes to polygyny. Right? But does that mean a man's going to stop? No. All right. He needs to consider certain things, no doubt. But in the end, it's not the correct measure emotions. Okay. It's systematic. It needs to be measured. But men now are committing illegal polygyny, unlawful polygyny, haram polygyny, pornography, for example. So many men say, I just stick to one woman, but they're addicted to pornography. What is that? It's the need for variety. It's e-polygyny. It's e-haram polygyny, virtual polygyny, haram. Men are not going to stop. You have to understand. We need to fix the problem at the root. But when you dismiss it because of emotions and this and that, as opposed to let's go back to those measurable things. Are men qualified? Can they afford it? Can they do it? Do they understand how to do it properly? Are the imams teaching in the masjid, in khutbahs, in halaqats? Or they're just talking about how the Prophet had a Jewish neighbor and, they used to throw the trash and then he used to remove it. Come on, guys. Let's be realistic. All right. Let's not mess about. Okay. Bottom line is we need to fix this issue properly, because, women are dismissing it now and men are also dismissing it. And men are in trouble. Men are in trouble and women are in trouble. So again, sister, in khulasa, the summary is that you've misused the hadith. Fatima's feelings were not because of polygyny. It was because of Abu Jahl's daughter. Please read again. I'm going to post the hadith again. You're still insisting on that. Women's emotions, yes, they're very important. A man should try his best to take care of it, but bottom line, it's not a source of Sharia or to rule something or to make a decision based on that. Second of all, it's measurable. It should not be abstract. If a man is qualified to do polygyny, and that's what would invalidate or validate it. So let's teach that and let's help men to do it because they're not going to stop doing it. And learn, sister, and you shouldn't be here if you cannot handle the criticism and you think it's an accusation and this and that. And it's no accusation, no insult or nothing, with all due respect to you. All right. But do not preach and teach the wrong things and then still insist. And if you retract and you say that you don't have knowledge, then go study first, 10 years, 5 years, whatever. Then come back and then teach women the right thing, call Allah, call Rasul, and stick to that. Don't give your own interpretations of things. Okay, and last but not least, the Prophet ﷺ was not hurt because Ali was with another woman, which we see clearly from the hadith of Buraidah, which again brings more context and refutes your point that he was just about polygyny and Fatima in polygyny. No, it was about Abu Jahl's daughter. Just to close, who was Abu Jahl and what did he do? And why was Fatima upset? The Prophet ﷺ made sujood. Abu Jahl put the camel guts on his back, and Fatima's the one who cleared it up, and she felt so insulted and so hurt by what she saw her father going through. Okay? And that's why she never wanted to do anything with Abu Jahl's daughter. Read, and read. Islam started with iqra, read, understand, and so on. It's no insult. Okay? Everyone makes mistakes. If I make mistakes, people need to correct me, and I need to retract and accept humbly. But don't be on this platform preaching. You can, teach women about modesty, hijabs, abaya, stuff like that. But don't preach something. Okay, when you're not qualified and you don't have the ability, and then you say, yeah, maybe I need to fix my mistake. I need to go and learn more. This is my ignorance. You can't. That's the problem with the modern day woman. She does the mistake, then she doesn't retract. She kind of justifies. They say, oh, I'm sorry. Oops, I did it, but let me probably fix it. And then they don't, right? So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide you and guide us all. Forgive us all. Ameen. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Hey guys, so the brother has posted another video about me and I'm responding to that video. Okay, I really don't want to prolong this, but when people accuse you, you have to speak up for yourself. Firstly, I did not distort the hadith and I checked this with my teacher. There's actually different opinions about that hadith from different scholars. So I feel for someone to label someone else who has different opinions as someone who's distorting the hadith, I feel like that's really unfair, especially someone who has a platform like him. I know like some people do this on social media. They show different people's videos and embarrass them, or this thing causes more harm than good. You are causing a lot of people to hate on the other person. And another thing that he addresses in his videos is that I am emotional. Well, I am a woman. Women are emotional, okay? But that doesn't make my point any less than it is. Another point that he makes is that women's emotions doesn't have to be considered when it comes to the men's rights of having another wife. I feel like this is wrong, and I know like a lot of men think like this, and I feel like this is just like basic of love. Do you love your wife? Don't you have mercy, rahmah over her? Don't you care about her? It doesn't take a scholar to understand this, that you just have to consider her. Be kind. Just remember that Allah really takes into consideration of people's emotions, and Allah does not like for others to hurt each other. And I just want to remind the brother that when Aisha was falsely accused, Allah has sent down the Quran verse to show her innocence. And if that doesn't show how much Allah is just and how much Allah takes it seriously when it comes to a person's honor, then I don't know what else does.
Is that common? Is that part of the Islamic faith? Is that in your faith, or is that a cultural situation?
Polygamy, more precisely polygyny, right, where you have a man marrying more than one woman. Obviously, this is something that's found in biblical scriptures as well, right? Every prophet between Adam and Jesus, peace be upon them, pretty much was a polygamist, starting from Abraham all the way to David, to Solomon, to Moses. So polygamy is not something that was new to Islam. Not theologically nor culturally. In the Arab world in the 7th century, there was unrestricted polygamy. There are people that had 20, 30 wives and so on and so forth. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, himself, for the majority of his life, up until the age of 53 years old, he only had one wife. He was sort of the outcast in that sense, because there are very few people that were actually married to only one woman at the time. And realize that this is a pretty modern phenomenon, that polygamy is looked at in the way that it's looked at. So it did exist at the time in the 7th century. Islam was the first religion to actually restrict it, or not in the Arab world in particular. Christianity obviously did restrict it, but Islam restricted it to 4, to a man marrying 4 women. However, the reasons for that, if you look at again, taking the Quran as a whole, with the situation of war, there were lots of widows and things of that sort. So it was left to 4, it was restricted to 4, so that a man could take care of the families that were being left over as a result of war and so on and so forth. So to solve a societal problem, right, it was legislated for that purpose. Even in the chronological order in that chapter in the Quran, it comes after a section of widows and divorcees and things of that sort. So it was to solve that problem of widows and orphans and so on and so forth. Now, there's not a single verse in the Quran or a tradition of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, that praises polygamy. Meaning there's no virtue to marrying more than one woman. There never has
There
been.
really isn't, I can tell you that.
So, it's never been mentioned as a praiseworthy attribute. There was praise towards people that would take in families. So it was considered praiseworthy to marry another woman if you were marrying a widow or so on and so forth, and taking her in. And that was, again, culturally acceptable. For many centuries, in fact, it was. And it was a part of the faith. However, it says in the Quran, if you can't do justice with more than one, then you have to stick to one. So it was actually the first religious scripture that said you have to marry one if you're afraid of not being able to do justice. So there are a lot of laws governing it. It did exist. It's a part of the faith. When it comes to that entire realm of how we view marriage, how we view sexuality as a whole, these things are ever evolving, and they are more so than probably anything else dictated by our cultural lenses. And so we are biased no matter what, whether we like it or not. The way we view things today, 20 years ago, for example, in America, it was a very different America. We can't expect any other part of the world to view these things the way that we view it. That's in present times, and we especially can't expect religions and peoples that existed over 1,000 years ago to view marriage in the same way that we did. So that would just be unjust historically and disingenuous. So,
Oh, thank you.
it's
Shukran.
not common though.
Oh, interesting question. Are we obliged to listen to our husband? Aren't we equal in Allah's eyes? Okay, yes, we are equal in terms of our taqwa, our deen, but men and women have different roles in life. And when you are married, the man is a leader, okay? So, I always post things about girls and supporting girls, but if something's wrong, I'll call it out. And I will have to tell you guys that yes, we have to listen to our husband. So that is why make sure you choose the right husband, okay?